Hake is live on Periscope, D Live, Facebook, in that order. YouTube should be connecting soon, so should Twitch. You can call in 888-775-3773. It's Thursday, November 19th, 2020. Women's Forum tonight, ladies, 7 p.m. here at Bond in Los Angeles. For ladies only. Yes, Twitch is live. Nice. And I'm, of course, streaming on TalkStream Live and JLP Live. Thank you, Jesse Lee Peterson. Very nice. And thank you, too, for, in advance, for hosting the show on dlive.tv/ Jesse Lee Peterson. Trump campaign is going to be holding a news conference, election legal challenges soon. But don't sweat it. You don't have to watch it right now. You can watch the highlights later. Don't go to RSBN. Forget you guys. I'm seeing people in the chat saying, we're going RSBN live. Hey, can't you tune in? I don't know. Do you want to turn it on the Skype computer and see if anything is interesting, and then see if we can play it through the Skype computer? We might play a little bit of it. Yeah. I remember one time I played a long portion of President Trump's speech for some event, and it took up quite a bit of the show. Some people got a little irritated. But, yeah, we might be able to do that. Joel Friday will try for that. Right Side Broadcasting Network is the YouTube channel that people like to use. And, yeah, I support that. You know, Placeboing is a channel on YouTube, and they've done remixes of President Trump, Hillary Clinton, probably Joe Biden, I'm not sure. And, well, I say they, but it's really he, this talented guy who's done remixes of Alex Jones. I might play a clip from that one, one of those. He's done many. And he used Right Side Broadcasting footage of President Trump's great statements. And it's cool. I appreciate that. So I appreciate Right Side Broadcasting. Pretty honest network. And I don't believe that they're on cable at this time, but they are on YouTube, and that's cool. I'm going to be talking about the Wayne County, Michigan shenanigans, and that is what they are. It's utter shenanigans. The Republicans are kind of weak. We talked about that before. I talked about it yesterday. And, you know, this woman who's on this board of canvassers who first wanted to vote not to certify, and then changed her vote along with the other male Republican to certify. So at first it was 2-2 along racial and party lines. And then they were called racist and doxxed and threatened and all that madness. This is like a corrupt area. It's ridiculous. But the elephant in the room that the Republicans, many RINOs and everybody else won't say is that black Democrats lie and cheat and steal is so common, but they don't want to admit that because that would sound racist. And they also, you know, like the Proud Boys and others have been heard chanting F Antifa because they don't mind cussing, right? They're millennials, right? Just don't hold it against them. But they're saying F Antifa. And I generally agree with this sentiment. The Antifa does not belong in America at all. They are anti-American. Outright anti-American. They want no borders, no walls, no USA at all. But they're not the only ones who chant that dumb stuff. It's also Black Lives Matter. And Black Lives Matter is also very violent. Very violent. Yeah, some of them act like, oh, we're peaceful and we're just going to peacefully accuse you of bloody murder with no evidence. And that's exactly what they do. But many also show up at their stuff and commit violent acts, and black on white crime is quite rampant. But there's the elephant in the room that people won't say, oh, they'll just say it's Antifa. But they won't admit that it's Black Lives Matter too. Same thing. So ridiculous. And I have a quick reminder about some pictures from the D.C. rally this past weekend, which I think it was this past weekend. It feels so long ago. Well, it was Thursday. I mean, today is Thursday, and that was Friday, Saturday. But I have some other stuff. It seems like the Epoch Times is the only real news. But I have some other stuff. I have information on this Chris Krebs guy that Trump fired. He's a silly person. Ridiculous. And some other things, too. Megyn Kelly, by the way, I saw this headline on the Epoch Times that she's leaving New York City and has pulled her sons, wow, she has sons, out of far-left schools. Isn't that interesting? Megyn Kelly, the white feminist anti-Trump lady who is actually seemingly kind of liberal, acknowledged that systemic racism is a real thing. She actually said that on Fox News when she was a host over there. Ridiculous. But I think of her as kind of far left, not as far off the deep end as many. But I think by far left schools, maybe she means anti-white, because she's experienced a lot of attacks for saying Santa is white and Jesus is white and all that stuff. Half of Republicans, by the way, say that the election was rigged. And there's a significant amount of people saying it across the country. And all of this, despite the lies and the false trying to convince you by the mainstream media and mainstream so-called social media. It's a mess. But anyway, thank you to Jesse Lee Peterson again, hosting the Hake Report on D Live. And I will be getting to your calls. But let's get on with the show.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, this Wayne County, Michigan shenanigans is not the only shenanigans going on in the country, but it's the one that has a lot of people's interest right now, making a lot of hot headlines. But in Nevada, in Arizona, I think, and elsewhere, I think I mentioned just as kind of a side comment at the tail end of Hake News of the Jesse Lee Peterson show and the end of the second hour of his show today, that these places, they're far from over, or they're not over. Let's never mind about far from over. The Epoch Times reports Trump Electoral College candidates in Nevada filed an election contest. It means it's a contest, meaning like it's contested. It means they're disputing the election results, claiming 15,000 voters in Nevada also voted outside of the state. That's what they claim. Could there be some honest explanation, right? Reasonable explanation for some of those, maybe? I don't know, maybe. Kind of like with the dead voters, right? In some cases, it turned out, it was the widow who voted using the husband's name, right? As Mrs. So-and-so. You know how I used to see mail coming into my parents' address, and it would say Mrs., and then it would say my dad's name. I don't know. I think whatever. But it's kind of interesting. People, I don't think that explains all of the dead voters. And that's been a rumor for a long time, and I think it might be proven. I just haven't looked into it. I'm not that into searching out all this information because there's so much information out there. They alleged substantial irregularities, improprieties, and fraud occurred in the election, and that Nevada officials put in effect an election system that was highly susceptible to fraud and abuse. And of course they did. That's what they're doing when they open up the borders for the illegals to come in and amnesty and all that stuff. That's just their MO, their modus operandi. Is that Latin? But that's what they like to do. They like to leave it open for fraud and abuse. And look at the no bail system. Everything that they do is to open it up, make it easy for the criminals and cheaters and liars. And then they say, oh no, it's racist to enforce the rules because black and brown are more affected by it. Because in my experience, black and brown have maybe not even most, I don't know, but they have less, statistically speaking, they have less of a, fewer qualms, apparently, with cheating and lying and stealing. I didn't get stolen from all my years going to Arroyo High School in El Monte, California, and that was with Hispanics and Asians, right? And then I go to Pasadena City College, stuff stolen. I accidentally leave something in a classroom and come back within an hour, gone. It was just a dumb sweatshirt, too. And then I go to Azusa Pacific University, that liberal, mostly white school in Azusa, which Azusa is kind of ghetto, but the Azusa Pacific University, I was surprised to find out that Azusa was kind of ghetto, meaning like crime, lots of Hispanics and all that. Because I went to Azusa Pacific University as a kid and then as a student, as an adult, right? So-called. And it was like a white school. Everybody's nice. There's like other races too. But generally, you can leave your stuff there at a bench or whatever, come back even the next day and it's still there. Because people are honest over there. High trust society. When you go to Pasadena City College, you leave something, which Pasadena City College, Pasadena, heavily black, and there's also less than savory of the Asian population. Lots of Asians are honest or whatever. They not have no tendency to steal, but some of them will steal. Below Gladstone is ghetto. Above baseline, you're with the whites, says Joel, over in talking about Azusa. Same thing with all that area. This is just, we're talking about the suburbs of Los Angeles, out east. And then so are we going to pretend, are we going to close our eyes nationally? It's what the Republicans are doing. It's what whites are doing. It's what even, honestly, many of the Proud Boys were doing by saying, forget Antifa. They weren't saying forget, but they were saying the other word. And so some people turned around and said, forget Black Lives Matter. The same thing. They're exactly the same thing. They're commies. I'm looking just up at the Skype screen, and if you're watching RSBN right now, Rudy Giuliani, the hero of, well, I don't know if I want to say hero, but of Robert from Kansas, he's said that Rudy Giuliani is ready to fight. Some people have made fun of Giuliani, but that guy, he is a fighter, and he is a winner. I think he helped bring down crime and took on the mob in New York City. And he's standing with Trump. I appreciate that. That's nice. So he's talking right now. We're looking at it. And I may switch over if I see Trump talking. How about? It sounds like a deal. In the meantime, I want to tell you, I told you about Nevada, right? They said highly susceptible to fraud and abuse. And that's what the Democrats did. They got rid of checking signatures against prior signatures, right? Prior signatures, not about the same incident of applying for whatever. I don't know. It's all kinds of mess. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but there's a lot of leaving things wide open. And they did mass mail-ins. Many mail-in votes were improperly cast. Nature and scale of fraud and abuse renders the purported results of the Nevada election illegitimate. And Matt Schlapp is a RINO who's behind but he's like a sort of a conservative guy, right? Matt Schlapp. I call him a RINO. Establishment guy. Conservative Inc. guy. But he complained about the zeal to push reckless, unsolicited mail-in voting. And he's right about that. And good news from Arizona. I don't know what say this Arizona governor has in the matter, but according to the Epoch Times, the Arizona governor will not accept election results until all lawsuits are settled. And that's what the Epoch Times is doing, too. They actually have Trump ahead of Biden in the official count, in the uncontested count, because there are lots of contested counts in these states that are facing recounts and hopefully audits, real audits, not the fake one like they did in Georgia, and other stuff like that, lawsuits. And the Wayne County canvassers, I complained about them because they caved, the RINOs caved, that woman and that white man caved and voted to certify the election results even when they wanted an audit. Why would you vote to certify election results when you want an audit? They've certified it with the understanding that, oh, he promised we're going to have an audit. The black guy that I told you about yesterday, that I'll tell Jonathan Kinlock or whatever. Kinlock? I don't know. But now they're signed affidavits saying we want to rescind our votes. There is doubt over, I have confusion over whether they're going to accept the rescinding of the vote, because the Jonathan Kinlock guy is saying, he's the vice president of this canvassing board. He says, oh no, I assure you it's settled. But he just doesn't want the truth to get out. And he's accusing the whites, the Republicans, of being what they are. It's silly. So I don't know what's going on, but the Trump campaign is withdrawing their lawsuit in Michigan after the Wayne County relief, so says Giuliani, who is talking right now for the Trump stuff. Here's a little bit of what those Michigan canvassers faced a day or two ago when they were doing that initial, they voted not to certify, and then they voted to certify like cowards. Leaders, this is a headline from the Detroit Free Press. It says, leaders blast GOP for initial vote against election certification. That's fake news. They're not leaders. The headline reads, black leaders, which means they're not leaders, and civil rights advocates, which means commies. Communists were outraged over the initial Wayne County canvass vote. And the article is by this guy named Niraj Wariku. Clip 12, I think, is what it is, Joel. The NAACP guy, Reverend, yeah, that's the reporter writing for this. I have some information on him. I'll tell you about him in a sec. But first, I want to play this clip before we go over to Trump, because he's not talking yet. Reverend Wendell Anthony, pastor of Fellowship Chapel and head of the Detroit NAACP, National Association Against Colored People, right? It's no different from the KKK, as Jesse Lee Peterson often has said. Speaks during the November 17th meeting of Wayne County Board of Canvassers. Here's this Reverend Wendell Anthony. He's a black guy just ranting. Here's 30 seconds of his rant, and it's just, he goes on and on. Listen to this.
You look at black cities, you have extracted a black city out of a county and said the only ones that are at fault, at an issue, is the city of Detroit, where 80% of the people who reside here are African Americans. Shame on you. Shame on you for leading to this level of corruption. You have disavowed your right to even sit in the seats that you occupy. You are a disgrace as relates to the ability to have a free and impartial election in this nation. You have...
What a phony. Typical black, using the wrong word, too. You have disavowed your... What did he say? You disavowed your ability or whatever? I think that's the wrong word, man. Typical black guy trying to use these dumb big words. And that's a so-called reverend. And all they have is shouting and trying to intimidate, like Jesse Lee Peterson said. And they're accusing us of being what they are, which is corrupt and political-minded. Because blacks, imagine, Detroit, 79% black. Whoa. And you're going to pretend that they don't cheat. That blacks don't cheat. We saw them on camera seemingly cheating. And anyway, So those were black and that's just one guy of many people freaking out. You saw on the Jesse Lee Peterson show or heard him, this Muslim guy accusing them of, what is it? Caucasity? Caucasianness? Reminds me of Mexicanity. Caucasity. The 4-member board, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats, were split upon party and racial lines when they first voted to whether to certify the election results in Wayne County, where more than 878,000, almost a million, or approaching a million people cast ballots in the November 3rd election. Later, after a couple of hours of angry complaints from Democrats and so-called civil rights leaders, phonies, scammers, who don't even care about blacks, by the way, the board voted again, resulting in 2 Republicans, Monica Palmer and William Hartman, changing their votes, favoring certification. And I have some tweets from this Kayla Rubel woman, before I get to details about this Niraj Wariku guy. She says that as if it couldn't get any wilder, she tweeted this last night, I guess. Late last night, almost this morning. Really, it was this morning, their time. The Republican members are now seeking to rescind certification, despite the fact that the motion officially passed. Certification papers were signed and records were sent to the Secretary of State this morning. Well, that Secretary of State said, "Oh, I don't have to recognize that motion or that whatever thing, that decision to audit the votes." So that's partly why they're pulling that back. So Palmer and Hartman, the woman and the man, the Republicans, white, signed affidavits seeking to revoke their certification, according to this woman's tweet. Vice Chair Kinloch, that's the black guy, you put the tweets back up, assures me that the deal is already done. That's the black guy trying to pull a fast one on them. The deal is already done, lawsuits withstanding. See, as election lawyers have explained to me, the deadline is also a hard stop, and the deadline was yesterday. Trying to rush this through, pull a fast one on the American people. They're the ones cheating and trying to disenfranchise the Trump voters. But they're saying, listen to this. What people likely missed is on Tuesday, here's the next set of tweets. What people likely missed is on Tuesday night, after Wayne County canvassers voted to certify, Kinloch introduced a second motion waiving reconsideration, meaning the board wouldn't be able to revisit, explicitly because he suspected the Republicans would come under pressure today. Hashtag foresight. Whose side is she on? She doesn't seem like she's just an objective observer. Sounds like she has a dog in the fight. Calling that foresight. The initial deal brokered with Democrat canvassers occurred after 3 hours of passionate testimony, meaning angry blacks trying to intimidate the whites and phony Democrats, from Wayne County residents calling out the Republicans for, look at this, attempting to disenfranchise hundreds of thousands of black and brown voters in Michigan's most populous, diverse, and bluest county. Most populous, diverse, bluest, black and brown. That means corrupt. Those are the most corrupt politicians. Those are the most corrupt voters. They don't mind lying. They don't mind cheating. And they're being called racist for pointing it out. But they need to point it out more explicitly. I wish that people would point it out more explicitly, these phony Republicans, instead of cowering to the racism thing. Because they need to point out that blacks and browns cheat. It's been my experience growing up with blacks and with browns. It's been everybody's experience. Blacks and browns, many of them, don't mind cheating or lying or stealing. And it infects the whites and Asians too. I've seen it. But it's especially prominent amongst the blacks and browns, and that is not called out. Also, on the topic of pressure and mob rule, as many claim occurred in Wayne County this week, since the meeting, Republican board member Palmer has said clearly there wasn't mob rule, and she didn't succumb to pressure to certify. She's lying, I think. I think she's lying. I think she said she moved forward because of the audit agreement. No, that's your excuse, lady, because the audit agreement doesn't mean anything. You should still not certify. So this Republican lady who sits on this board, I think, is another kind of what Jesse Lee Peterson was warning about with the Amy Barrett lady, Amy Coney Barrett, who sits on the Supreme Court now. Rudy Giuliani's still talking, by the way. Because I think that she did cave to the pressure and she just rationalized it because of the audit agreement. Use your power. And then she says, I can confirm from texts shown to me that Wayne County Republican canvasser says that she's received threats post-meeting. She says they've actually come from both sides, the right and the left, but specifically Antifa from Grosse Pointe. And Grosse Pointe is where she founded that public schools, I don't know, this organization to help fund people who are running for office in this local public schools district or local Grosse Pointe schools district, and she's accused of a conflict of interest. And this organization that she founded accepts anonymous donors, and the left doesn't like anonymous donors because they like to dox and intimidate and smear and defame Republican or conservative donors. But she's being accused of corruption or a conflict of interest when in fact it's the Democrats. And then she said, yes, Michiganders, you read that last part correctly. She's making fun of the Antifa from Grosse Pointe. Because Grosse Pointe, according to this Niraj Wariku guy of the Detroit Free Press that I told you about, he tweeted, Grosse Pointe Antifa is trending on Twitter across the U.S. after a Washington Post reporter, that's that lady, said one of the two Republicans on Wayne County Board of Canvassers, Monica Palmer, told her that Antifa from Grosse Pointe was one of the groups threatening her after she voted for certification. This is the Niraj Wariku Grosse Pointe Antifa. I gave him a ton of screenshots, Joel did, I gave to him. What is the job of a canvasser? That's a good question. So I don't know, but I gather that canvasser, they say, like, canvassing the vote or canvassing the stuff and stuff like that. I've heard it with regard to election. I don't really know either, but I gather that in this case, this 4-member board of so-called canvassers, they go over their job is to certify or not certify, among other things, I guess. Certify or not certify and it's 4 members. 2 blacks, 2 white, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans. One of them is a woman, so she's a RINO, right? But they certify the votes, meaning they accept the votes as official. These are official. But they're certifying it, and they're saying, oh, but we need to audit because there's all these irregularities. More votes than people in many of the districts or precincts or whatever. But I guess that's what a canvasser is, and it relates to the elections. There was some guy who tried to commit voter fraud down here in Los Angeles, and he claimed to be canvassing the homeless population. So I guess it kind of means like finding out what your voting base can possibly be or something along those lines. I don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask. I just accept it. I just go along with the word, and by context, I gather roughly what they mean. Yeah, these people, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, exactly. Uncertified people, or when there's more votes than people, yet they're still going to certify the votes, and there's all these weird complaints. Okay, so this Niraj Wariku guy, he's explaining the Grosse Pointers are upscale small suburbs of east of Detroit, right? Sounds kind of like LA. It's kind of like the equivalent of, who knows, Sierra Madre or something. Not Sierra Madre, but, what's that rich area over, oh man, I'm blanking on it, but there's like some really rich neighborhoods, like Arcadia, California. It's a suburb east of LA, and it's LA County. Yeah, Glendale, like it's kind of like that. It's like a powerful upscale city, right? It has become more diverse in recent years. Antifa and similar movements, Burbank, dude, there's a place south of Pasadena. South Pasadena is pretty rich, but there's another place, and I'm blanking on it, but the cops there are a pain in the but it's upscale. But anyway, this Niraj Waraku, Detroit Free Press guy, he said the Grosse Points are upscale, small suburbs east of Detroit. So it's probably like a South Pasadena. Antifa and similar movements, he says, he acknowledges, often attract people from wealthy backgrounds. Yes, very true. Very true. So right on to him for pointing that out, because they pretend, you know, I think there's a fake account, or was a fake account, called Beverly Hills Antifa. Beverly Hills is a rich area over here. And I think that that's not true. I don't think that there's not really a Beverly Hills Antifa. There was a Beverly Hills Tea Party. One of the great singers from Pat Boone, I think he might have been a founder of the Beverly Hills Tea Party, conservative group from 10 years ago or less. So Antifa, yes, Antifa is a problem, but say it. It's Black Lives Matter too. Scum of the earth, Black Lives Matter, and just maybe not even necessarily officially Black Lives Matter, but black radicals in general they threaten people all the time, but then they're cast as, oh, they're the victims of voter suppression, voter intimidation. Please, blacks are not victims more than they're perpetrators, especially of this interracial stuff. What was that about? I have a part black engineer. He counts as black, right? Man. Anyway, Rudy Giuliani is still talking. I like him. I'm going to talk about this Niraj Waraku guy just because it's mildly interesting. You know, the demographics over in Michigan, it's not just blacks, it's also browns. And by browns, I mean Hispanics. And it's not just that, you know, all the white Democrats are corrupt. Anybody who's a Democrat, you know they're corrupt. And the RINOs, too, are corrupt cowards. And then there's a whole Muslim population over there. And any criticism of the Muslims is called Islamophobic. And there's a whole anti-Semitism scare, too. Any criticism, especially by whites, of Jews, anti-Semitic. But usually they're valid criticisms, usually. Maybe Trump isn't going to speak. So maybe I could be wrong. Trump might not be the one who's going to be speaking. In that case, I won't go to Trump because he won't speak. That's a good point, because it looks like a whole bunch of lawyers up there. Rudy's nice. Any of you who are listening to it, you can call in with a very brief report on what was said. But, you know, I love how everybody's, you know, with regard to these people, fighting for Trump, including you guys, me, Jesse Lee, Trump himself, President Trump himself, even RINOs, but there are a whole lot of RINOs who are leaving him as one guy said, just leaving him twisting in the wind alone. Many Republicans, according to Cernovich, who's an independent reporter guy, independent journalist / activist. Center left, but supports Trump where he sees that Trump is right. If there had been massive down-ballot irregularities, he says, every GOP, including Mitch, would be demanding recounts and audits. As it is, GOP leaders don't care. And many of them are saying, oh, give it up. Like Mitt Romney, the loser, he was governor of Massachusetts, and then suddenly he moved all the way over to Utah, Mormontown, and became the senator there. Total RINO, total backstabber, total traitor, coward, flip-flopper. Yeah, there's video of Lindsey Graham fist-bumping Kamala Harris. But he's asking Trump to let Biden in on the intelligence meetings. Another RINO. I like Lindsey where he works with Trump. I don't like Lindsey where he undermines Trump. And I've I mean, I guess I like him, but he's wrong. He is a coward. He's well known to be a RINO even before Trump. Like, long before Trump, we knew that Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, all those guys, cowards, RINOs. I don't want to overuse the word simp, but simps. Anyway, let me get to Samuel in Sweden. He's been on hold forever. He wants to talk about the coronavirus lockdowns. They're ridiculous. Samuel, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Perhaps I got the COVID, but I've been sneezing a bit today. But
you've been wheezing? You said you've been wheezing?
Sneezing.
Is sneezing a sign of COVID?
Nah, I don't know. You know, everybody got COVID today.
I know.
The sickness in this world is COVID. It's the China virus today.
Yeah.
And, you know, in Sweden, even Sweden is better than most countries. We have been, recently, just some days ago, became really strict. The government said that the maximum of 8 people can, in events and different things, maximum of 8 people can meet.
Okay.
And most of the year it was
crazy.
50. Then they raised it to 300 just a month ago. And then now because more people are getting it, and there's just a little some more people die by it. So
can you speak up for me a little bit? It's coming in kind of quiet.
Oh, I don't know why.
Well, I understand you may be a little low energy if you've been sneezing today.
Yeah, I'm low energy, you know. Anyway, well, at least previously it was at least 50 people who could meet at events here in Sweden.
Yeah.
But they have lowered it to 8 people now, and every event, everything in Christmas is closed down. I wanted to go to a Christmas market that will be held just a week from now, but they closed it. Everything is closed down, or every event, every public class meeting.
Wow.
So,
I thought that Sweden wasn't doing that, so they've caved under pressure, huh?
Yeah, they caved in that way. There's still no mandatory mask and things. You can't travel anywhere. But, I mean, they are scaring people. So now more people than ever is wearing face masks.
Wow.
A lot of them are women. But so far there is no mandatory face mask, no mandatory, curfew, crazy things like that. But, I mean, you can't have a Christmas public Christmas meeting or whatever, if you're an organization or whatever company.
Yeah. I'm not surprised, honestly, because Sweden is not known to be based. It's known to be sort of a cucked country. I don't mean to be dirty with that word about it, but I mean betraying their own people, betraying what's right, betraying common sense, and letting, all kinds of foreigners, including Muslim population, that don't really have the same values or civilization-type values that normal, traditional Swedes have, and all kinds of stuff going on with Sweden. They've been a liberal, basically a socialist country, globalist socialist country, right? Haven't they been that way for maybe decades?
The only reason why Sweden did not go crazy like the other countries is because the virus expert in the government, he has been very firm that face masks don't work, that that the best way to cure the virus is to let people get it in a controllable manner, like herd immunity. So, I mean, they never tried to stop the virus officially. They just wanted the hospitals not to be overcrowded. But now it seems that they have changed it because, I mean, we don't have that many cases, but now they are taking more extreme steps than before.
Yeah, speaking of, let me cut in briefly. to make a couple of points. Speaking of overcrowded hospitals, I haven't heard much of that going on, but I have heard more of it lately, and I don't know what to believe. I heard about in El Paso, Texas, for example, overcrowded hospitals, supposedly. I've also heard a caller claimed, and I haven't looked into it at all, but I wouldn't be surprised, that illegals have been coming from, well, Juarez is just on the other side of the border from one of the murder capitals of the world, other side of the border from El Paso, Texas. Heavy Hispanic population. Many Hispanics don't have the best habits in terms of eating right, being healthy, not being overweight. I don't know if they have a diabetes problem the way that I think blacks disproportionately may have a diabetes problem. But they love soda, says Nick. But, you know, I knew a lot of little fat Hispanic kids when I was growing up. Some of them got fit, some of them got fat. Some of them were fit and then got fat. But I don't know about Sweden. With Sweden, I've known the population. I know in general the white population around the world is aging. They're not replacing themselves. And so they are older and more susceptible to sicknesses. So I would think that it might be a bit of a problem in Sweden in that way. I don't know what Sweden's population is like. But I have heard that it's like the cases are going up because it is a new disease, and new diseases spread exponentially, regardless of what you do. Pretty much. I mean, you can protect yourself. But people are kind of careless. People don't listen. And by the way, the black and Hispanic population probably listen to the rules and advice less than whites do. You know, just in my experience. You know, like people were getting mad at blacks early on with this thing, saying that, oh, the blacks are just meeting in there, having their big cookouts and meeting in houses all crowded together, because they're very sociable people. And they all meet and have their things, their parties, their barbecues and stuff. And so they don't really pay attention to what they're told, kind of like in Hurricane Katrina when they were advised to evacuate. Many of them didn't. They're like, oh, the government's going to take care of us. So it's hard to know what the truth is with what's going on with COVID. Anyways, sorry, Samuel, go on.
Yeah, I would like to talk about the freedom and Orwellian thing, but I want to add about the age and the people getting sick and dying from the China virus.
Yeah.
And in Sweden, they publish every day information about people dying, getting sick, and whatever. And I mean, it's only from the age of 60 and upwards and up that people die of the China virus. Under the age of 60, almost nothing. And something that's important that I think about, almost every old person, I mean 60 or older, that I know of, have underlying sicknesses. I mean, the diabetes and the coughing and the old people are smoking. And most old people here I know in Sweden, they are fat. I mean, there are no skinny old people I know of almost.
Wow.
And one thing also that one Swedish county told that only 15% of people that died from the China virus actually died by the China virus. The rest of the 85% may have not died from the China virus, but by other diseases.
I've heard things like that.
Yeah, so I mean, and of course, of the people dying is always people that are really old. But I want to talk about freedom and the Orwellian society. And I'm amazed that people rather live in a Orwellian society, in dictatorship, than to have freedom. I think it's amazing. I mean, is it something weird with me that I rather have freedom than security, or quote security? I mean, of course, I take care of myself, but I don't want the government to rule over me in a dictatorship.
Yeah.
And that's what I see everywhere here in Sweden, not as much as in other European countries, but I mean, they try to control more and more and tell us how to behave and act. And I mean, people are just giving up their freedom. I mean, come on, freedom is more important than the imagination of being secure.
Yeah. But that's like a female thing. Like according to like statistics or what they talk about with surveys all the time, women are more concerned and interested in so-called security and what do you call it? Security and safety. The women are. And that's how they vote. And Joe Biden was completely kissing up to them, women, female mindset. You know, there's a whole lot of males with a female mindset too. With regard to Trump says the people want to open up. They want their freedom back. They want to do business again. They want to work again. And Joe Biden says the people want to be safe. As if his forcing shutdowns and politicians forcing shutdowns and stuff is making people safer. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Samuel, it's good to hear from you, man. I appreciate it. Good points.
Can I say one more thing, or is it
quickly? Go for it. But speak up for me. I know you're low energy right now because of the sneezing, but speak up for me.
Okay. I read an article about an American doctor who said that you can't escape a virus.
Yeah.
A virus is, you can't, a mask will not protect you. Keeping it a couple of feet apart will not protect you, because a virus will travel, especially airborne virus like the China virus, will travel a long distance. So you can't outrun it. You can't hide from it.
The best thing is to be healthy so that you have a good defense against it. I appreciate it, Samuel, man. It's good to hear from you. Take care.
Yeah, take care.
Let me quickly get to G in San Diego, California. I haven't heard from G in forever. G, how are you doing?
What's up, James? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. Man.
Can you hear me fine?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hey, good job on everything you're doing, brother. You're doing awesome.
Appreciate that. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah. Congrats on being an alpha.
Thank you.
I remember when you used to play soccer and hurt your back every weekend.
Yeah.
Now you're tough.
Excuse me. Well, I haven't played soccer in a while, but
I'm gonna keep it quick. But I don't know if this is weird or not. But you know, I didn't request a ballot, and I didn't want to get one, but I got two in the mail.
Really?
Yes, and I'm in a very liberal neighborhood over here in San Diego.
Right.
Like all my neighbors have Biden stickers, and you know, I just kind of mind my business. But anyway, yeah, I didn't request it because I wanted to vote in person,
right,
on the computer. And when I got there, they gave me another ballot. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I already have two at home. If I was going to vote
I know.
ballot, I would have just filled up, you know, one of them.
Yeah, exactly. They're sending this stuff out willy-nilly. They supposedly have like double checks. Like I noticed with mine, they double checked me and said, okay, he hasn't voted yet. And then they crossed my name off of a list. And honest election workers will do that. They'll cross your name off a list, make sure that, check your name against the system to make sure you haven't voted already with a prior received ballot. But they are sending out ballots willy-nilly to everybody. I mean, to people, practically everybody, including, like, I've heard of dogs and cats receiving ballots. Like, somehow they're registered on something. Crazy. Yeah. And not to mention a lot of dead people.
I don't know if that was weird, you know, that I got two, but I just wanted to put it out there. You know? I'm actually, I forget if I'm registered a Democrat or Libertarian. Because I was all paranoid about conspiracy, and I was like, man, I don't want to register as Republican and, you know, have them come after me or something.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So, you know, I just wanted to let you guys know. But, yeah, man, I've been watching you. I've been watching you guys, and you guys are doing awesome.
Nice. Well, it's good to hear from you, G. Appreciate you, man.
All right, brother. You have a good day.
You as well. Wow. You know, speaking of the people giving up their freedoms, like what Samuel from Sweden was saying, I have this tweet, November 18th, from the South Australia Police. This woman named Andrea, and her Twitter handle is @InTouchForNow, right? She tweeted, "Hey, South Australia Police," and it's SA Police News is their handle, right, on Twitter. "For the sake of my stupid husband who's doing some type of complaint or whatever, can you please broadcast very specific information about walking the dog? #lockdown. South Australia Police replied to her on Twitter. You know, one of their social media people. And they tweeted, "Hi, Andrea," or Andrea, I don't know how it's pronounced. "You cannot leave the house to walk the dog or to exercise." What? They literally said that? And it has 1,000 retweets, 2,000 retweets, 3.6 thousand quote tweets, almost 1,000 likes, probably more than that by now because this was a screenshot a little bit ago. Australian police are telling citizens that they can't leave the house to exercise or walk the dog. Leaving the house is the best thing for your health. They say that being in enclosed spaces is bad for you because, you know, you don't get the airflow, you don't get fresh air, you don't get vitamin D. Being outside is the best. Properly dressed, of course, dress warmly. Of course, in Australia, right? Isn't it summer or late spring or something? What are we in right now? I think we're in late fall or mid-fall. We're in the middle of fall up here north of the equator. They're south of the equator. It's got to be pretty warm, getting warmer. Go outside. But no. Lamos. That's ridiculous. And I've heard other stuff too going on with these ridiculous lockdowns. Crazy. Let me quickly get to, so now they have the great Sidney Powell talking on Right Side Broadcasting right now. Want to just hear a few minutes to see what she's saying? She just looks like she's reading. It might not be that exciting, but she's a no-nonsense lady. You want to switch over to her briefly, Joelle? Let's do this.
Congresswoman Carolyn B. Maloney. Senators Klobuchar and Warren have raised these concerns as recently as December 2019. Why our government has not taken them seriously is beyond my comprehension, unless they have some of the three-letter agencies have used them themselves in other parts of the world. We know that the technology was exported to affect an election in Argentina. That's admitted by our friend who wrote the affidavit about Hugo Chavez and his interest in Smartmatic. Again, in 2006, Carolyn Maloney wrote the Honorable John Snow, the Secretary of the Treasury, about the issues. Speaking of Smartmatic's leadership, one of the Smartmatic patent holders, Eric Coomer, I believe his name is on the web as being recorded in a conversation with Antifa members saying that he had the election rigged for Mr. Biden, nothing to worry about here, and they were going to F Trump. His social media is filled with hatred for the president and for the United States of America as a whole.
Nice.
As are the social media accounts of many other Smartmatic people.
Calling them out.
There has been widespread use of this. Dominion itself is utilized in 2,000 jurisdictions in 30 states. It has been uncertifiable in multiple states who realized all the problems that it had, including Texas. Experts have described it across the board, from a Princeton group of 3 professors to experts that we have talked to about its end user vulnerabilities. People can admittedly go in and change whatever they want. They can set the ratio of votes from one thing to another. They can say that A Biden vote counts as 1.25 and a Trump vote counts as 0.75.
Whoa.
And those may be the numbers that were actually used here.
Dang.
It's not just the swing states that were affected. The algorithm was likely run across the country to affect the entire election. Like I said, we only discovered it this year because of the overwhelming number of votes for President Trump in the swing states that caused the machines to have to shut down for them to backfill for adding votes.
Wow.
We have evidence of different numbers of votes being injected into the system, the same identical, unique 6-digit number multiple times in at least 2 states that we've analyzed so far, and I'm talking about like 341,542 votes for Biden and 100,012 for Trump. There's no explanation, no logical explanation for the same numbers being injected 20 minutes apart into the machine.
Wow.
The software manual itself, you can download it from the internet, and I would encourage you all to read it because it specifically advertises some of these things as features of the system.
Crazy.
Why it was ever allowed into this country is beyond my comprehension, and why nobody has dealt with it is absolutely appalling. The machines were easily accessible to hackers. There's a video on the net that it will explain to you how a kid with a cell phone can hack one of these voting machines. There's been no oversight of Dominion or its software. Workers in each county were trained by Dominion, but there's no evidence of any monitoring otherwise. We have testimony of different workers admitting that they were trained how to dispose of Trump votes and add to Biden votes. The software has a feature pursuant to which you can drag and drop any number of batches of votes to the candidate of your choice or simply throw them away. So we have mathematical evidence in a number of states of massive quantities of Trump votes being trashed, just simply put in the trash like you would on your computer with any file, and Biden votes being injected. That's addition to the flipping. I mean, it really happens in 2 ways. There's an algorithm that runs that automatically flips all the votes, and then each operator has the ability to go in, override settings. They can ignore a signature. They can ignore the top line of the ballot. They can go down ballot and select who they want to change the results for. The gentleman who founded Smartmatic, there's video of him on the internet explaining that, yes, on at least one occasion, he admits they changed 1 million votes.
Whoa.
With no problem. Many of the jurisdictions that have had this problem might not have known of the issues, but many did.
Yep.
And I think a full-scale criminal investigation needs to be undertaken immediately by the Department of Justice and by every state's equivalent, Attorney General's office or state investigatory unit, because there's evidence of different benefits being provided to the people who spent $100 million of taxpayer money at the last minute for their state to get the Dominion voting systems put in time for this election in different ways. There's one person that a lawyer told me got, quote, election insurance, meaning that he would be able to make sure he was elected. I'm sure they explained that feature in detail to many people who expressed interest in putting this voting system in.
Very shady. Let's end with this lady. She's smart.
Certification of the Dominion system in 2019.
She's been.
But there are no doubt issues with the software that Texas did use.
She's been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. This lady. This is Sidney Powell. She was a former federal prosecutor. She's the author of Licensed to Lie in May of 2014 about the DOJ and the FBI, corruption, lies, murders, all kinds of shenanigans, evil things that they've been doing. And we've known for a long time that the DOJ, a bunch of liberals. I mean, look at the hate crimes thing. It's ridiculous. Hate crimes is a political fake crime to punish people for expressing their First Amendment rights while committing an actual crime. Punish them for the actual crime. Don't punish them for their freedom of speech or thought, right? But the FBI, that's how they start to meddle in local politics and local crime stuff and political prosecutions against all kinds of people. In some cases, they're evil people getting prosecuted, but in some cases it's like they have no business getting in there. But Eric Holder and all them, he was head of the DOJ. Eric Holder under Obama, disgusting person. But this lady was basically a long-time whistleblower, old school lady, pretty cool. Right on to Sidney Powell. I like that she's on there. I like that Rudy Giuliani is on there. He's done some weird things in the past. I don't like that, but right on. Sidney, not S-Y. Sidney Powell. She's been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show maybe 5 years ago, talking about this was before Obama switched attorneys general to that black female, Loretta Lynch, who turned out to be a disgusting, corrupt woman who met on the plane with Bill Clinton. Anyways, there's another person talking right now, another lady, and I don't know. I will cover more stuff. I have to get to Maze from Dayton, Ohio, and the rest of the callers. Hang tight, guys. And yeah, Lynn Wood. Lynn Wood is another guy. Ghost Murdoch says, don't forget about Lynn Wood. How tall is Sidney Powell? I don't know. Yeah, she is. She's towering over even. I don't know how tall the Rudy Giuliani guy is, but she's towering over everybody. Tall white woman. Right onto her. But anyways, yes, we got to take a quick break. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. And I'm chuckling because Buddy Van Cigarette says, say how pretty she is, simp, Hake. Forget you. But yeah, she's pretty for an old lady. I got to talk about Megyn Kelly. I'm going to talk about this so-called reporter from the Detroit area and this Krebs guy that I bashed a little bit. And, of course, your calls, 888-775-3773. Hang tight for the rest of Hour 2. I'll be right back.
I'm a pioneer. I'm an explorer. I'm a human. And I'm coming. I'm animated. I'm alive. My heart's big. It's got hot blood going through it fast. I'm here. I'm here. This is a human. This is what we look like. This is what we act like. This is what I am. This is what I am. I'm setting fires everywhere. and we're going to get our metaphysical hands around your stinking necks. Make no mistake, parasites.
Isn't that great? That was the work of Placeboing. It's also spelled placebo-ing, but Placeboing. That's the, and that was a remix of Alex Jones, who has recently interviewed Jesse Lee Peterson. Did you catch that a couple months back? Maybe a month. Very nice. Very nice work from Placeboing. Good job, man. I don't know if he catches my show, but I just had to show that to you. And part of being human is pointing out obvious stuff. That's Donald Trump is a human. And he points out obvious stuff. And why don't whites, they're treated less than human, point out the corruption with the blacks, the Democrats, and so many others? There's like this fear of talking about all these minorities, blacks, Hispanics, Jewish people, LGBTQIA people, women. And like there's even Christian so-called conservative whites who don't want to point out some obvious issues with women. Simps. Yeah. And no wonder they're treated like subhumans. Many whites, many men in society, because like we don't stand up for ourselves or stand up for what's right. Even though like we're the most likely to vote for what's right or have a little bit of sense. That's the other reason that we're attacked. But we're attacked more because we're also very weak, many of us. You know, yeah, closet Christians. You know, I have just this brief tweet from Jaden McNeil, who is a young man, listens to the Jesse Lee Peterson show. He might even listen to the Hake Report. He's on D Live too. I think he's friends with those Groiper guys. He might even be a Groiper. One of those guys who calls out, hey, how come you guys are accepting all this? You call yourselves conservatives, but you promote all this LGBTQIA madness and not quite America First stuff. This guy is gone, I think he is in college or was in college, caught all kinds of flack because he made a joke about George Floyd has been drug-free for a month. This was like a month after George Floyd overdosed and died after resisting arrest and asking to be put on the ground. And of course, when they put him on the ground, they have to put their knees on him to keep him down. Yeah, and it's kind of cold. It's you can say, oh, that's poor taste. But people were freaking out about it. Black male athletes were saying, oh, I'm not going to play my football game for my college until Jaden McNeil is expelled, or, the mob went crazy because a white male had the freedom of speech and used it. And good for him. It's a funny joke, and standing by his right to say funny stuff. The whole N-word thing is a ridiculous thing. Everybody knows that it's ridiculous. I told you about that Bill Maher guy saying, Senator, I'm a house N-word. I don't want to work in the field. He called himself a house N-word. And it was all in good fun. He's a liberal atheist. I think he's part Jewish too, but he's an atheist. Liberal atheist, this Bill Maher guy, comedian guy, has hosted a show for decades. But he looks like an old white guy, non-black, so you can't say the N-word. So he apologized and groveled to Michael Eric Dyson, whom Jesse Lee Peterson has debated. He debated in front of the National Association of Black Journalists on reparations for blacks. Jesse Lee Peterson did. And then he was mocked because he pointed out that blacks are immoral, irresponsible, and they don't need reparations. They need responsibility and character, what everybody needs. And to hold to the truth. And this is what whites need bad. But he tweeted just recently, I think it might have come out yesterday, Jaden McNeil, And this has happened to many people, by the way. PayPal, he said, this is what happens when you rally for our president, Jaden McNeil tweeted. And it says, it's a notice that says, you can't use PayPal anymore. At PayPal, we value a safe community. And that is Orwellian, which is the word that that caller, Samuel from Sweden, talked about. Safe. Safety. Safe community. Meaning attack whites' freedom of speech. And conservatives' freedom of speech. And Christians' freedom of speech. And men's freedom. We noticed activity in your account that's inconsistent with our user agreement, and we no longer offer you PayPal services. Discrimination based on politics. Based on being white and conservative and Christian and pro-Trump. Because that's all it is. I mean, maybe, I don't know what all Jaden has said or done, but it's his American freedom. But, you know, it's not just the government that's violating the freedom of speech. It is people who... so-called American companies like PayPal and like so many others, banks, Uber, delete your app if you tolerate racism. Black people have the right to travel without fear. As if blacks are the victims of racism. They're the perpetrators of it, if it exists, which it doesn't. But they're the perpetrators of hatred of other races. And honestly, they hate each other too, and themselves. Any bank or credit card information linked to your PayPal account cannot be removed, nor can it be used to create a new account. You can still log in and see your account information, but you can't send and receive money. Any money in your balance will be held for 180 days, after which we'll send you an email with instructions about transferring your money, they said. And this happened to Stefan Molyneux and others. Crazy, huh? And I think PayPal... Oh, no, Square. They're all doing it. Discriminating against gun companies. Gun sales companies. Any business that has anything to do with firearms. Because they hate the Second Amendment. They kiss up to, oh, there's a mass shooting, therefore, let's blame the NRA. Which is a total misdirection. As if the NRA had anything to do with any of it. But that's what's happening. And so, chin up, everybody. Don't be dismayed by the discrimination. But it is happening. So, quickly, before I move on, well, I kind of moved on, but before I move on from this Wayne County, Michigan thing, I want to tell you about this Niraj Wariku guy, because somebody pointed out that demographics are affecting the vote. And yes, that's true. Also, the destruction of, the native population, the white Native Americans, whites, and is also affecting it. This is Niraj Wariku. He is a staff writer for the Detroit Free Press. He reports on religion, poverty, and immigration, so-called poverty, right? And I think of him probably as a liberal. He writes about immigration and religion, and he looks like a Muslim. Whoa. Not like that. Dang. That's too aggressive. I saw a funny clip. Well, it's funny, but it's deadly. Of this guy who was launching mortars. He dropped the bomb thing or explosive into the pipe, and then it launches out, and he kept on shouting, Allahu Akbar, and then launching mortars over in the Middle East somewhere, presumably. And pretty soon, one misfired and just blew him up. It's crazy, or blew up in his face or whatever. And that reminds me of that. But this guy has won a bunch of Society of Professional Journalists awards in Detroit over recent years. 2 in 2019 for his work covering immigration. He went down to Texas and the border, traveled to Mexico and southern Texas, to write about the effects of deportation and immigration enforcement. And all these journalists, I don't know about this guy specifically, but they put a lot of scrutiny on right-wing and none on the actual lawbreakers. And every now and then, you're going to find a little wrongdoing on the right. But he broke stories about operations of a fake university in Metro Detroit created by ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that drew national attention and prompted a response from members of Congress, probably Democrats. He became the religion reporter for the Detroit Free Press in 2008 when Obama was rising in the national consciousness, right? Talking about the region's diverse faith communities from evangelicals to Orthodox Christians, which includes, I believe in Detroit, they have the Chaldean, is it Chaldean or Chaldean Christians, the Iraqi Christians over there, and Jewish people. He's covered Arab American and Muslim American issues for 20 years, writing about the impact of the U.S. war on terror in Michigan. Excuse me, what? Such as the use of undercover informants in the FBI's shooting death of a Detroit imam. Interesting, huh? And there's a whole journalism thing, I've told you about it, to kiss up to the fake victims and go and bash the people who are comfortable, the rich and the white and the men and all that, Christians and all that stuff. That's their fake religion, is to believe in a false reality of victimhood for the so-called minorities. What a shame. And so the media over there is biased, and the black so-called leaders are biased, and nobody wants to point it out. Let me get to Mays in Dayton, Ohio. She's been on hold forever. Wants to talk about Rudy Giuliani, who's talking right now at this pro-Trump lawyers situation over here. Mays, how are you doing?
Hello, James.
Hey.
So you talked about it, so now what's supposed to happen? This conversation you just had. You said something about it, so what about it?
You said something about what?
Your conversation when you just finished talking about.
You're talking about the imam?
Yes. I mean, y'all just disrespect people so much.
What was disrespectful about what I said?
The little skit you played when you say Allah Rabba, and then you're going to think it's something
That
funny.
wasn't me, that was Joel.
I don't care which one of it you was.
And that wasn't disrespect. That wasn't necessarily hold on, Mace. It wasn't necessarily disrespect. That's just what many of them do.
What did it?
You're acting like it's disrespectful to point out what they do.
Have you ever been?
What they're well known for doing.
Oh, really? But where they're well known?
You're going to really say, "Oh, really? They're well known. They're not well known for doing that."
No, they're not.
Yes, they are well known for doing that.
Well, okay.
There is disproportionate. Hold on, Mace. Hold on.
What?
There is disproportionate terrorism coming from a group that's a tiny percentage of the population. And you're going to pretend, oh, no, that's not happening. Shame on you. You're dishonest. Typical.
Yes, just like you're dishonest. And those
you can't point out anything that's dishonest about me, though.
And those heathens that call God bless you, them heathens always using God. Why don't they stop using God's name in vain?
What would you know about God, Maze?
Knowing they're nowhere near nothing God.
What do you know about God, Maze?
The same thing you do.
Nothing. Thank you.
You admit that you don't know anything about it. You just use his name for a crutch. But let me get back to
I don't use his name for a crutch. You're the one bringing up God.
I'm saying those people holler God.
I didn't bring up God this whole time.
Those that bring up God.
Maze. You're the one always invoking God and God's law and stuff like that.
That's right. You're supposed to be abiding by his law.
No, you're the one. You're the one bringing that up, and you don't know anything about it.
It's like you always saying.
And you admitted, Maze, that you know as much about God as I do.
Did he leave a law down here for you to follow, or did he leave a law for?
No. You're changing the subject. You admitted. Hold on, Maze.
I'm telling you,
Maze,
I know about his law.
Maze, you admitted you know as much about God as I do.
Really?
That's what you said. That's what you claimed.
That's why I gave you the answer.
Huh?
You heard what I said.
So you're dishonest. That's why you gave me the answer? Is that what you said?
After you asked me a stupid question, that's why I gave you a stupid answer.
It's not a stupid question to ask asking what you know about God when you invoke God all the time is not a stupid question, Mace.
No. That's you say. You say I don't know anything about
silly
God.
Woman.
No, well, let's get back to the subject about Giuliani. Because you all off in la la la. I'm just talking about the heathens that call and say God bless you, which they should.
But you're not one to call a heathen because you're a heathen.
Freedom of speech for the uninformed. So now let's go to Giuliani. Now y'all sitting here watching Giuliani speak.
I didn't watch Giuliani
I believe
speak.
what Giuliani is doing. Why do they keep throwing all this mess out of court that he's coming up with? The same thing he's sitting in front of that TV he went to court with and they threw it out. And
I don't know if that's true, Maze. You're just making that claim. I don't think that you know what you're talking about.
Just like he's a lawyer, I want him to be
Hey, Maze.
What?
I've already answered this question in the past because there are a whole lot of liberal activists and RINO judges who are cowards who throw stuff out all the time when it's kind of irrelevant. And so that's part of it. And maybe some of it, they don't have everything together because it's very short notice. They try to pull a fast one on us, and we're trying to keep up. We being the people who want an honest election. And you should want these lawsuits to go forward because you should want the truth to come out. Maze, you should.
I want him to be on the oath when he lies.
Maze, you should want the truth to come out. How come you don't want the truth?
I want him to be on the oath when he lies.
Maze. Hold on, Maze. How come you don't want the truth to come out?
If the truth coming out, why can't he be in the courtroom telling us the same thing that he's sitting in front of this TV for y'all to believe?
Maze, how come you don't want the truth to come out?
The truth is out.
No, it's not. They're putting the truth out, and you're criticizing.
You remember when, I'm going to put it like this.
You're criticizing and pretending that judges throwing out the case means the truth. That's not the truth.
They don't have any evidence. That's why they're throwing them out, because they don't have any evidence.
Yes, they do have evidence. Maze, are you aware that affidavits are sworn statements, sworn witness statements, and witness testimony is evidence. So that's evidence.
Are you aware that if a lawyer go into a courtroom with no evidence and stand up that lie, he can lose his law license? And that's why I want to see Giuliani stand in front of on the oath doing the mess that he's doing now. And I bet you he'll get somewhere and sit down and shut up.
That's silly, Maze. You should be ashamed of yourself.
It's just the truth. And when I see him do
you don't make any sense.
That's why you sitting there sweating, like just sweating and lying and sweating and talking, lying and sweating and talking.
You wouldn't know anything about you wouldn't know anything about a person lying because you lie all the time. All you do is listen to lies.
Yes, I know I listen
and then
to
you
lies.
call and then you call us liars.
That's true.
All you do is repeat lies
every day. That's why somebody has to help you out.
No, you're the liar, Maze.
And like that liar.
You're the liar, Maze. All you do is sit around judging people and not aware of yourself.
It was two lawyers on
Maze.
One was lying.
Maze.
What?
I'm putting you on hold if you don't be quiet. All you do is sit around judging people and you don't look at yourself.
What you say? I look at myself every day. That's
no, you don't.
No, you don't. Listen to the lies that you tell.
You may look at yourself physically.
Only black people you know.
What do you look like, Maze? Hey, Maze.
What do I look like?
Yeah.
What do you need to know what I look like?
Because you said you look at yourself every day.
I do.
And what do you look like?
I sure don't look like that woman that you was describing as cute. That tall woman that just finished that lie.
That was only at Buddy Van Sigrit's.
And you know that woman not cute.
Hold on, Maze. That was only at Buddy Van Sigrit's prompting. She said, no, he said, James, simp, Hake, tell us how pretty she is.
And that's what they was making fun of her. And you didn't even get the gist of what they were saying. They were saying she was ugly.
No, they weren't. Yes, they were making fun of me. No, they weren't. They were making fun of me because I always comment on such and such is pretty. Mm-hmm. Such and such is pretty. Pretty evil.
I always do ugly things, James.
Are you saying that Sidney Powell? Maze, be quiet, Maze. I'm going to put you on hold if you don't stop interrupting me. Are you saying that Sidney Powell is ugly?
I sure did. You told me that tall woman that was standing there?
Yeah.
She sure is ugly.
Wow, you're evil. Nasty.
I know it's better
How come you, hold on, Maze, how come you take such joy in being nasty towards people and getting them riled?
I'm taking such joy in telling people the truth.
No, you Maze, you seem to take joy when you can get under people's skin.
I don't try to get up under people's skin.
Yeah, you do.
I just want to use that brain.
Oh, yeah, you do. Well, you love needling people. And then you start laughing to yourself like that.
Well, I just told you the truth. I'm saying
no, you're hiding behind. You're hiding behind what you claim is the truth.
You don't have any ethics, and you got a rotten heart. Somebody needs to tell you. And if you don't like the way I do it,
speak for yourself, Maze. Look at yourself.
I'm so sorry.
Anyway,
you always talking about freedom of speech. Y'all the only one that got freedom of speech that's supposed to speak.
No, but blacks could stand to shut up sometimes and listen.
Well, oh yeah, really.
Yes.
Y'all need to stand and listen. Y'all need to learn.
That's something that you don't really do.
When you listen and not learning, what is that doing?
But you're just all you do is blabber.
So now I have another question before you let me go.
Yeah.
Why is Linda Graham over in Georgia doing stuff?
Huh?
Should they take his license for what he's over there trying to get somebody to throw out some votes?
Well, listen, Maze. He explained it.
Listen, and tell me the truth.
He explained it very well. Maze, be quiet. He explained it very well. He said in the past and traditionally they have tossed out like 3% of ballots because they're improperly filled out. But they tossed out only like 0.3% of ballots this time around. Huh? Isn't that odd? They're sending, hold on, Mace. They're sending out ballots willy-nilly. So you would think, you would think that they would have to toss out ballots even more because that's more sloppy people who would be filling stuff out wrongly. But no, they're just accepting them like crazy. So that's all he's doing is saying, hey, how come you used to reject like 3% of ballots, sometimes up to 4%? Trump tweeted about it this morning. 4%. Mace, I'm still explaining. You have to be quiet while I'm talking. I'm the master. Really? You're my slave.
Oh, yeah, really. I'm nobody's slave. Got that wrong.
And so how come...
I'm Mace,
hey, Mace.
And will never be.
Lindsey Graham is saying, how come you're not tossing out the same amount of ballots? If anything, it should be more ballots rejected because they were sending out ballots to every Tom, Dick, and Harry.
But how many ballots did they throw out for him to win? Since he over in another state.
Maze.
In breaking the law.
I answered your question. Nice talking with you.
No, you didn't.
Have a good one.
I asked you a question and you did not answer.
I answered it. I explained what Lindsey Graham said. He didn't say they should toss out ballots. He said, why didn't they? I got to run. Nice talking with you.
That's what you do. Run.
This is a typical black thing. Oh, she was saying have a good day, but I hung up on her. Typical black saying run. After I keep them on for like 10 minutes. I keep people on too long. Let me take Joe in Phoenix, Arizona. He wants to say that witness testimony is not evidence. Joe, how are you doing?
Doing well, actually.
Nice. Yeah. Right on.
You know, let's make sure we're clear about legal terms when you're discussing them. Sworn affidavits are just that. Someone's account of what they saw. It still needs evidence to back it up.
I know, but when you have multiple witnesses, that counts as evidence.
It does not, James.
Yes, it does.
It happens all the time in court. People make statements, they swear to it, and then they turn out to be wrong. It's not evidence.
I know, but when you have multiple witness testimony, hold on, Mace. Hold on, Joe. When you have multiple witnesses saying the same thing, that counts as evidence. You may throw it out later. They may toss it out later. They may say, we don't accept that. That's not good evidence.
You're using legal terms in an incorrect way.
I don't care. I don't care what you say, you egghead. You're hiding behind this phony legal thing when we're talking about reality.
Legal matters matter when they're in court.
I don't care, but we're not in court. I'm talking about common sense stuff. Common sense says this is going to be counted. A lot of the... Hold on. Joe. Hey, Joe. True or false? Witness testimony counts as evidence.
False.
Well, now you're lying because no, you're lying. No, because that's all sometimes people have to go on when there's multiple. Hold on, Joe. Joe, I'm talking.
James, I'm talking and you're not listening.
I'll put him on hold. Multiple witnesses see a crime. They rely on that testimony. That counts as evidence. So now it's Joe's turn to talk.
No, it's not, James. You're wrong. You're just wrong about that.
Okay, maybe you're some intellectual technicality rationalizing not accepting witness testimony, even though we hear it in court and many times it's accepted as evidence towards proof that such and such is innocent or guilty.
James, I've seen it 100 times. You can have 10 different witnesses watch a car accident and have 10 completely different stories.
Right. But in this case, it's many witnesses telling the same story. Hold on, Joe. Hey, Joe. In many cases, it's many witnesses telling the same story. It all counts evidence towards the thing.
Be proven, James.
I know, but it's still evidence.
All that is that it means they have to investigate it.
It's evidence that both... Hold on.
100 people have the same account, but still have to be investigated, James.
Then how come they're throwing it out rather than investigating? You're just proving my point.
I've investigated, and there's no proof of it whatsoever.
Now you're lying.
That's why they're getting thrown out, James.
No, because that's not even. You don't even. You're just saying stuff now.
No, because I'm actually following this whole thing very closely. Because again, I'm a lawyer. You're not. I know what
I know, but you're being snooty by saying that. This is not a lawyer's country. This is a real country. No, lawyers are liars.
You just don't understand.
Lawyers are liars, Joe.
That's an old stereotype, and
it's a fact. It's a fact.
No, it's just a stereotype, but it's simply not true.
Yes, it is true. Lawyers are snooty people.
Are the hallmark of the simple-minded, James. It's ridiculous.
Lawyers are snooty people. They don't like to stay in reality. No. They like to hide and rationalize evil.
Just understand how the legal system works. And
I don't care how the legal system works. We're talking about reality.
Well, you should if you want these lawsuits to go forward.
I'm not the one pushing the lawsuits. I'm talking about common sense. Common sense says
you're the one who wants to see them succeed. So
I don't know about which. I don't know which lawsuits you're talking about, because I'm not talking about any specific lawsuit. I'm talking about the affidavits, the sworn witness testimony under penalty of perjury, which is a serious crime. Supposed to be, anyways.
People can't be wrong, James.
And they're telling, and multiple witnesses are saying the same thing, that they've switched votes to Biden, and in some cases they put votes for. I don't care what you say, Joe, because you don't care about the truth. You think Obama was a good president, and you think Trump is a terrible president. You're not an objective person. You're not an objective person.
No, James, you have no idea what being objective is.
Yes, I do.
You love to blame most or all black people for the actions of 0.015%, but you're not objective at all.
No, I'm quite objective, because you're in those most black people who are stuck in the blackness thing and believe in racism and think that Obama was a great president, even though you call yourself a black conservative.
And lying about black folks, and that's what you hate.
No, you're the one lying. You believe the main liar in chief, Obama. You've shown yourself to be a sucker.
I believe him on what?
You believe him? You believe that he was a good president?
I don't believe. The facts clearly show that.
No, they don't. That's ridiculous.
When
anyways,
you cut the deficit by 5%, you cut unemployment by 50%, you lower taxes 3 times.
Blah 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 blah. I'm not going to let you just blabber on stupid stuff.
That you can't deny. As much
because I don't care about that stuff. He tore apart the country, and you don't even see that. You're blind.
That's absolutely wrong.
You're completely blind.
Unity and peace at all times.
You're a phony, Joe.
Many times you're lying, James.
You're a phony. You're an intellectual who cannot see.
Because he's a black man who did a great job.
You're an intellectual who cannot see.
That's the only reason why you hate him. He's a black man who did a great job.
You have no clue about me, Joe. I hate Obama because he's a black man who did a great job. What sense do you think anybody thinks you're making, Joe?
James, when you continually, almost every show blame most or all black people for the actions of 0.015%, you love stereotyping and denigrating and lying about black folks based on the actions of 0.015%.
You're ignoring my question, Joe. What sense do you think people are thinking that you're making right now by saying that I hate Obama because he's a black man who did a great job?
Because that's the truth.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. It's good to hear from you.
Black people based on the actions of a tiny fraction of them. That's the proof.
Hey, Joe, the proof is you, who hates the people who are actually pushing for what's right, including Jesse Lee Peterson, when you pretend that you're doing such good for the community, and then you're denigrating the man who's promoting the solution. You're denigrating the man who's promoting the solution. And then you're denigrating Trump as a horrible president. And then you're pretending that Obama was a good president. Ridiculous. I got to hang up on him because he's just won't shut up. Anyway, thank you, Joe. I had to hang up on you because you wouldn't shut up, because you don't be quiet and let me talk, and then I be quiet and let you talk. Let me tell you about this Krebs guy. Speaking of blind intellectuals, Krebs was the first director of the cybersecurity something, which was part of the DHS. And can you Google a picture of Chris, C-H-R-I-S, Krebs, Krebs. He was fired by President Trump, and I told you a little bit about him. But he is a phony, if I have ever heard one. And I told you a little bit about him in Hake News today, even more. But this guy, he was part of that group within the DHS that's in bed with this Dominion people and also the Smartmatic people. This is the guy. This is Chris Krebs. And I think the Trump administration founded this group to keep the elections secure, but it didn't work out that way because these people are in bed with Dominion, which is being called into question by these people, and Smartmatic, which is being called into question by actual honest lawyers like that Sidney Powell lady. And by the way, the Federal Election Commission guy, one of the chairmen who was appointed by Trump, who said this is a spiritual battle and stuff like that, Trey Traynor is his nickname. Traynor, I think is his name, said that if Sidney Powell said that there was election fraud, then there was election fraud. And he's like an old school guy. And that's how I feel about it. She's an honest woman, not a dishonest, phony lawyer talker like the sleaze that you just heard from Joe and these other phony people who want Trump to lose. They hate Trump for being a simple man, an honest man. So this Chris Krebs guy was the first guy in charge of this organization, this CISA, which is inside of the DHS. And Dominion is on that council. Dominion, which has that Antifa guy that I told you about earlier this week. The guy who reposted the Antifa manifesto and hates Trump and hates all Trump voters. To this day. And so I went and looked up this Chris Krebs. Nice. And by the way, let me just show you this Chris Krebs. He quote tweeted, I mentioned it. Joel said that hurt me to play it. Show this Chris Krebs Mark Hamill tweet. It's probably the second one down if you're sorting it alphabetically. He said, okay, so first of all, President Trump tweeted back on maybe November 17th or so that the recent statements by Chris Krebs on the security of the 2020 election, and I think it might have been that statement that said, the November 3rd election was the most secure in history. He said it was highly inaccurate in that there were massive improprieties and fraud, including dead people voting, poll watchers not being allowed into polling locations. We saw that on video. Glitches in the voting machines, which changed votes from Trump to Biden. Late voting, yep, we saw that, and backdating and all that stuff, and many more. Therefore, effective immediately, Chris Krebs has been terminated as director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. So that's Donald Trump tweeted that. And so this actor named Mark Hamill, 2 L's actually. I think I might have misspelled it. Named Mark Hamill, who is the actor who back in the 80s, he played Luke Skywalker. It might have been 79 as well. He played Luke Skywalker in the movie, the Star Wars. And now he's played in other Star Wars movies more recently. He turned fat and old. What a shame. And by the way, I think he played the Joker voice in Batman the Animated Series. He did a really good job with that. But he's a joke. He's a joker. He said translation. He quote tweeted Trump, or he actually screenshotted Trump's tweets and said, translation, the recent statement by Chris Krebs was highly accurate in that there were no improprieties or fraud or confirmed by all credible 2020 election officials sworn under oath to be truthful, like Trump is not. Therefore, he has been terminated for refusing to lie for me, your hashtag liar in chief. That's Mark Hamill, a Trump derangement syndrome sufferer. I've known that this guy was suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. He hates Trump. For a long time, I've known that. He's an actor. Actors are liars. They're phony. So this Chris Krebs quote tweeted Mark Hamill, his apparently like a fanboy tweet, and he said, "In defending democracy," which is not what we have, "do or do not. There is no try." And that's a paraphrase or quote. That's not Bruce Lee, is it? That's that other guy, Yoda, the green little monster alien thing that trained Luke Skywalker, right? So it's a dumb Star Wars nerd reference. This is the way. Hashtag protect 2020, and he tagged Hamill and some other liberal, Pedro Pascal. I think that guy's I don't want to get into it. But, and then he tweeted again, after this lady, this tough lady, beautiful woman, what's her name? Sidney Powell tweeted I don't know if she tweeted it, but she has said it at the end of interviews, "Release the Kraken," which is a reference to some Greek god supposedly saying, "Release the Kraken," which is this giant squid-like monster thing that destroys cities and pulls boats underwater and stuff like that. Well, he tweeted, this Chris Krebs guy tweeted, "These Kraken believers apparently didn't read much Greek mythology," so he's a snob with his reading stuff, "or even watch Clash of the Titans, original, of course. Hashtag we are Perseus." And that's a reference to because some other Greek god froze the Kraken turned him into a stone using Medusa's head. Sickos. These are sick people. And he's quote tweeting the failing New York Slimes, which says the phrase "release the Kraken" was trending on Twitter after conservatives and far-right personalities promoted an unfounded voter fraud conspiracy. That's all they say. They don't even look into it. They just call it that. They didn't call the Russia fraud unfounded conspiracy theory because the deep state suckers were pushing it. The New York Slimes has called the election officials in every U.S. state and found no evidence of fraud, they said. Yeah, because they didn't really look. They didn't really look. And by the way, this Chris Krebs guy tweeted, and it was reported by the Epoch Times, "Rumor control. I never claimed there wasn't fraud in the election," he said, "because that's not CISA's job, cybersecurity, whatever. It's a law enforcement matter. We did provide info on measures election officials use to prevent and detect dead voters, though. Don't buy it and think twice before sharing," he says. Whatever. By the way, he also tweeted, and I mentioned this in Hake News, that back in June, he's a Trump hater. He said, he retweeted this lady, Leah Culver, who said, "I refuse to use whitelist, blacklist, or master slave terminology for computers. Join me. Words matter." That's like SJW stuff. "Oh, you can't use that because that might insult the blacks who are still sensitive to this day about slavery." Or pretending that blacklist is a bad thing. What a weirdo. So he's a dumb liberal. That's what that shows. That guy. Shameful. Anyway, let me get to Stewart in Massachusetts. A first-time caller. He wants to talk about lies against Trump. Stewart, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Hake.
Nice.
I wanted to, I just want to preference what I'm saying first by where I got the information. Do you know who Karen Strawn is?
Yeah. She's been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. She's been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show a couple times.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's basically like an anti-feminist woman. She was interviewed on the movie The Red Pill about men's rights activism. She supports men's rights. Divorced lady from
really
Canada.
Eloquent, and she's really eloquent. She's really factual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She sticks to the facts.
Yep.
And she points out all the all the glaring contradictions and everything, basically.
Yeah, I'll tell a story that she's in one of my favorite scenes. She makes one of my favorite scenes in that movie, The Red Pill. Anyway, go on.
Oh, okay. I did not see it. Okay, I did not vote, and but if I did vote, I would have voted for Trump.
Why didn't you vote?
Because I don't trust anybody anymore. I have like total PTSD from the society.
So you don't trust Trump enough to vote for him?
Oh, okay. I'm afraid, and I don't want to. I didn't want to get into any huge debates with you because I know you don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, I won't hold you up with that too much.
Okay, all right. It's just, I feel like there's more of a divide and conquer strategy going on, and I'm afraid that Trump's playing like good cop in the good cop, bad cop routine. But that aside,
so you think that he's not genuine?
I'm afraid. I'm fearful. I am so fearful. Like, I just don't trust anybody that's even been a part. He's not like a politician per se, but he's always kind of been a part of the establishment, so to speak.
Well, he is a billionaire from New York. Have you? But you're afraid. What do you mean by you're afraid? And what do you mean by you have PTSD?
I don't mean I'm afraid. Like, I stay up trembling. I mean, I guess I'm concerned. I'm super concerned, and I don't.
Well, I mean, I think it is fear.
I just don't trust either. The Democrats or the Republicans, and I just, you know what I mean, and I feel like even if Trump was genuine, one man cannot save us. I feel like we have to save us.
I know, but he's part of our team. But anyway,
he's done a lot of good stuff. That's why I'm calling. That's why I'm like,
what about
2016? No, I haven't voted since I voted for Bush Sr., and I mainly voted for him because I hated Al Gore or Bush Jr. and I didn't want any more Clintons in the White House, and he was pro-life, so I was like, oh well, I'll just go with him. But then I kind of got woken up, mostly by Alex Jones, but not just Alex Jones.
And it didn't encourage you to vote for Trump when you saw all of the past presidents who are alive today opposing Trump?
Well, here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. Everybody says he basically, undid a bunch of criminal laws against homosexuality, and he appointed the first gay cabinet member, but then everyone says he hates gays.
You're talking about Trump?
He basically avoided war in the Middle East, but everyone calls him a warmonger. He raised the household medium income across the board, but then everyone says he hates the middle class. He closed the gap between the rich and the poor more than any president in so long, but he hates the poor. So, and that's what I was wanting to talk about. Was Karen Strawn made a video called Why Trump Deserved to Lose, but it was obviously clickbait, because then when you click on it, it's about all the great stuff he did for the country, but then how everybody still hates him, or a lot of people still hate him, the left does. So it's a really good video. I suggest people watch it. It'll give you the facts. She shows all these graphs and charts, and basically, it's like a 2 or a minute and a half or 2 minute video that just shows all the good stuff that he has done. And I want to be on the Trump. Trust me, I get in arguments with my parents all the time about this. I don't even want to argue about it anymore.
Your parents are pro-Trump?
They're totally pro-Trump. I'm afraid something's going to happen to my father almost. I'm like, Dad, man, you're wearing your MAGA hat out in public, and if somebody hurts you, I'm going to get really, really mad, like really mad. Do you understand? Like,
yeah.
But they're totally pro-Trump, and I'm totally against Biden. And nobody will talk about how Biden is a creep and like touches little girls inappropriately, like almost like a criminal because he's never been punished, he can't even control himself.
I mean, a lot of people say that.
Basically.
I don't really get into that one.
Video.
I know a lot. I've seen it. I've seen it too. I've seen it, but it's not
like memes all over.
Right.
I know.
People read into the worst things about men, and there's this whole creepy old men meme going on, and I don't really like to feed into that thing. So you seem like forgive me, but you seem unstable. Like you said, you're afraid, and you want to say, "Oh no, I'm actually concerned."
Has totally screwed me over. What are you talking about? I wouldn't go along with all the leftist agenda in high school. And so kids that I know, that all the kids that were doing drugs and snorting coke and going to keggers, they all passed and went on. And would they do? Nothing. I've seen them looking for crack on the side of the road at 3 a.m. They all did nothing with their lives. They're overdose, dead. And I wouldn't go along with the leftist agenda. I was rebellious against it, and they failed me and ruined my life. And then I went to college. And then I'm talking about I'm pro-gun, this and that.
Stuart,
I'm 50 years old.
You're 50
years old.
Okay. So, hold on, Stewart. I'm talking.
That's all real.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I said you seem unstable. Like you seem like you're afraid. You said that you would get really mad if your father were to get physically attacked in the street. Are you doing Jesse Lee Peterson's silent prayer?
Oh, I'm not unstable. I'm super stable. I'm so.
Then why are you afraid of? Why are you afraid?
I'm so upright. Let me talk for a minute. I'm so upright. I'm like a 50-year-old Boy Scout. I'm concerned. The word is concerned. I shouldn't say afraid. I should use better vocabulary. I'm super concerned.
That's the same thing, though.
Because people have been voting forever, and it hasn't worked.
Right.
And the voting process is completely screwed. And that's not hyperbole when I tell you this country has destroyed my life. And my family is a little easier on me now, but even my family used to threaten me with police at like Thanksgiving dinner, telling me to shut up, because she'd be like talking like really good about like McCain or all these RINOs, and I would be like, no, that guy he was part of this scam. I was listening to Alex Jones. So I knew more than they did. They didn't know a lot of the stuff that I knew.
But listen,
and where did I find? Yeah,
I understand that like you said, you're a Boy Scout, meaning you are well behaved and you know all of this truth or factual information about what's going on in the country. But it sounds like it's kind of driven you nuts. Where, yes, those people.
What everybody tries.
I know, but listen.
What everybody tries to say, but remember, my life is. My nephew goes through this with me because he knows. Because he looks up to me, because almost everything, he tells my parents all the time that he's sick of me being right.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm not saying, Stewart,
this world really is out to get me because I tell the truth. And so people want to silence me and shut me down. And
you're not the only one.
And want to do. I get threatened with physical harm, like people, because people don't like what I'm saying. They want to.
I know, Stewart.
The police come and bash my head in.
Hey,
they
Stewart.
Want to watch the police bash my head in.
Right, I heard you. Stewart.
I'm not joking.
Stewart.
Okay.
I'm gonna put him on hold. Man, need some little peace and quiet in here.
I'm allowed to be a little.
Hey, Stewart.
Yes, Hake.
Do you do Jesse Lee Peterson's silent prayer?
All the time. I'm constantly in prayer because I'm really concerned of what's going to happen to this country.
All right, well, stay with it, man. I appreciate you.
Big trouble.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, stay with it.
Right.
I appreciate it. I know that a lot of you guys are right in a lot of what you're saying, but it's not supposed to shake you like this. You're not the only one going.
Oh, I'm only shaking. I'm only shaking when I'm not thinking. I'm not walking around my house like I said. Like, I'm not afraid like that.
Be honest. Be honest.
I mean? When I talk
Stewart.
About it.
Be honest.
I am honest.
No, but you're shaking about it. You're a 50-year-old man concerned that your dad may get hit and you're going to get really mad and you're afraid.
My life has been destroyed. No, my life has been destroyed.
I don't doubt that.
Okay, and so I'm allowed to feel however I want about it.
Don't tell yourself that. Don't give yourself an excuse not to be a man.
No, I'll guide myself, and God will guide me. God will guide me.
One or the other.
Not gonna, these are the things that happen. This is, I'm preaching hellfire and brimstone, so look out. And
I know, but you got to check yourself.
And then everyone else will get emotional, and I'll be like, and then I'll be laughing.
We're opening the treasure chest.
Calm down. You wanted this. I'll be like, calm down. You wanted this. You didn't
Hey,
do
Stewart.
anything about
Hey,
it.
Stewart.
Now you got it. So enjoy it. When everyone else is all
Stewart.
freaking out. Yeah.
You don't have the right attitude, man.
Oh, I have a great attitude. My life has been destroyed.
I know. You've said that 3 times. I believed you the first time, kind of.
And I haven't done anything to retaliate, so I've behaved exemplary. I depend. As a matter of fact, a lot of my prayers are being answered by God.
I gotta go, Stewart.
Is concerned.
I appreciate you, man. But check yourself.
We'll keep watching you, Hake.
Thank you, man.
I'm gonna keep watching you.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care. Man, we're opening the treasure chest, guys. I appreciate the support. Jordanos gave a diamond and said, thank you. By the way, happy birthday, Sion, right? That's what I heard. Justin KG. Oh, I got to back up. I'm getting a whole bunch of... let me open up the treasure chest first. A lot of people, and I think he might be white, I don't know, but a lot of people are getting driven nuts by seeing the insanity of the world, and they're going insane too, and it's bad. Okay, treasure chest. Thank you to Jordanos, Ragnar 0321, I think is the name. Justin KG. I don't want to say, but it's a knockoff of the name of Sherlock. I don't know if I want to say that name, but I'll just call it Sherlock Holmes. It has another consonant in there. It says, God bless you guys. Your work is encouraging to us. Appreciate that. Thank you, man. Thank you to Dark Side of the Bear What hosting the show. Arizona lineman with the diamond says, May's got a crush on the red man. Am I the red one? Dark Side of the Bear What said, I bet Joe graduated last in his class in law school. I don't know. I don't think so. Because a whole lot of people are so-called doing well, and they're every bit as blind. Intellectuals. You heard on the Jesse Lee Peterson show that lawyer guy, that he's a Jewish lawyer, conservative guy, I think, sort of. He didn't see it as clearly that Jesse Lee Peterson pointed out that they're trying to deceive people by not using the term illegal alien. It is deception. And then he came around to realizing, oh yeah, that is deception. So he's an intellectual, but even he, being a conservative guy, didn't see it as what it was. Just breaking it down to the simple. And that's what I like about Jesse Lee Peterson, Donald Trump. Just simple truth, the basics. Justin KG says, he lying. Referring to Joe from Phoenix. Bill Cosby locked up with no evidence, just witness testimony. Interesting. Might be right about that, Justin KG. Good to hear from you. Good to see you. Appreciate the support, too. Ragnar 0321 with the diamond says, incredible press conference from the Trump legal team. Nice. And, you know, we'll see what happens. The court system doesn't care about the truth anymore. As actually Joe from Phoenix himself acknowledged, the so-called justice system is not about actual justice. It's not. And more, it's SJW people kissing up, including fake judges like the one I told you about yesterday with the guy who said, Chad Wolf is not serving right, therefore DACA gets to stay, and 1 million more illegal young people are possibly eligible for work permits. Ridiculous. Anyway, guys, this has been the Hake Report. Appreciate your support and watching. TheHakeReport.com for my stuff. JesseLeePeterson.com for Jesse Lee Peterson's stuff. Make sure you check out the Throwback Sunday service. It is excellent. And whites, be calm but be tough. Unshakable. Well, everybody, right? All right. Women's Forum tonight for ladies only. 7 p.m. at Bond, third Thursday of the month. Rebuildingtheman.com/events. 323-782-1980. 323-782-1980 for the Bond office. Thanks again, guys. Take care.
I'm a pioneer. I'm an explorer. I'm a human. And I'm coming. I'm animated. I'm alive. My heart's big. It's got hot blood going through it fast. I'm here. I'm here. This is a human. This is what we look like. This is what we act like. This is what I am. This is what I am. I'm setting fires everywhere. And humans are turning on everywhere. And we're gonna get our metaphysical hands around your stinking necks. Make no mistake, parasites.